Welcome everybody, Night Brisk here, and in today's video we're going to explore how Pokemon Go's success is what is keeping arcades alive today. So strap in, get your snacks, and enjoy the video. In the dynamic realm of video games and social interaction, a captivating phenomenon has emerged, reshaping the landscape of how we connect, play, and socialize. At the heart of this transformation stands Pokemon Go, the augmented reality mobile game that not only captured the imaginations of millions, but also pioneered a cultural shift. Beyond the screen-based quest to catch them all, Pokemon Go has become a catalyst for outdoor exploration, forging social connections, and laying the groundwork for a new breed of social spaces that we know now as Barcades. So join me in this video as we embark on an exploration of entwined evolution of Pokemon Go and the flourishing trends of Barcades. These unique venues blend the nostalgia of classic arcade games with the social dynamics inspired by Pokemon Go. It's a journey through pixels and Pokeballs where the joy of gaming intertwines with the excitement of forging real-world connections. So let us start by diving deeper as to why Pokemon Go is so successful, by first exploring the outdoors with Pokemon Go. So now we all know that the main goal of Pokemon Go is to catch them all. What is the key to that efficiency? Well, to catch Pokemon outside, of course. The longer the journey that you embark on outside on the app, the more spawns you will encounter. If your journey includes visiting some local Pokestops and gyms, you will also increase your odds of catching some of those treasured shiny Pokemon. However, if you want a shot at those legendary or even mythical Pokemon, you'll find yourself embarking on intense gym raids, turning your neighborhood into an epic gaming arena. Very reminiscent of Bridge to Terabithia, but let's not talk about that ending. As you can see, Niantic does a great job at rewarding its players for venturing outdoors instead of staying in one location to catch Pokemon. Now, let's examine the social aspect of the game. Imagine this, the thrill of catching a rare shiny Pokemon, a goal that many trainers obsess over. But the real magic happens when you share that moment with friends. For example, take my Garchomp Community Day experience. I was able to gather a couple of my best friends and mentally prepared for a full day of exciting adventure. We were dead set on getting our shiny Garchomp, so we partied up and brought our strongest Pokemon to every single raid. Losing was not really an option. Needless to say, we caught every single Garchomp that we encountered that day. Actually, it ended up being around 20 Garchomps each, with both of my best friends catching their shiny. Sadly, despite the shiny odds being 1 in 20, my luck was more like, 1 in a million. But, that's alright. I'm just the shiny Garchomp's guardian angel, making sure they find, the good trainers. Now, I was blessed and fortunate enough that one of my best friends had an extra shiny Garchomp that they were willing to trade with me. I still had some 2016 Pokemon, so I made sure that trade was a lucky trade and actually ended up getting a 98% IV shiny Garchomp, making it to this day my strongest Pokemon yet. So the camaraderie, the jokes, the battles, every single Pokemon caught was a shared victory that day. Even the jealousy over a shiny Garchomp was worth it, especially when a lucky trade turned it into my most powerful Pokemon. Now let's explore another social aspect of the game, which is creating new friendships. And limited time community day raids are a perfect example of this. I'll share a story on this involving the Shadow Lugia event where my best friend and I set out for a full day of raiding despite the rain forecast. On the first raid of the day, we noticed that there were a few people queued up in a raid with only about a minute left to join. So we sprinted about 300 meters just to be able to make it in time, while at the same time realizing how out of shape I was at the time. Lucky for us though, we not only ended up beating and catching our Lugia, we also saw a group of 10 other raiders just across the river. We decided to walk over there and introduce ourselves and asked if we could join them in their raids, to which they gladly said yes. And so we began our journey. Rain-soaked and determined, we walked, joked, and bonded over our shared Pokemon passion. 10 raids and 10 kilometers later, we had our fair share of Lugias with shinies for a select few, but more importantly, new friendships rooted in our desire to catch them all. Now, Pokemon Go has showcased that it was key to appeal to people's sense of adventure and camaraderie to create an app with an active player base of over 80 million players. But, given Pokemon Go's success in encouraging outdoor adventures and fostering these connections, why haven't arcades remained a staple in our society? And the answer lies in two key factors. One, how the arcade business ran at the time, and the changing accessibility of video games over time. To give you a perspective on how big arcades were in their golden era, by 1980, about 86% of the teenage population in the United States had played arcade video games, and by 1981, there were more than 35 million gamers visiting arcades in the United States. Arcades were a precursor to today's virtual social media communities, with arcades serving as physical hubs where high scores were our status symbols. However, the rise of gaming consoles such as the Atari, the NES, and the Sega Genesis shifted the way that people played video games by offering the convenience of playing those games at home. So you can see how this harmed arcade owners financially, since they relied on people like us going to their arcades and spending money in order to keep their business running. So the gaming consoles ended up being the final boss in the arcade owners' nightmares. And let's be real here, they lost pretty miserably. However, not all hope was lost for arcade owners. Pokémon Go shed light to a demographic of players eager to venture out with friends and meet new people. What was a clever solution? Change the game, quite literally. Instead of charging players to play the game, they instead made all the games free to play, to keep them longer in hopes that if they stayed long enough that they would eventually want something to eat and drink, marking the birth of Barcades. The rise of Barcades became the silver lining. Businesses making money not from games, but from food and beverages instead, turning gaming into a culinary adventure after a sweaty session of some Dance Dance Revolution. Now, I had the pleasure to visit one of these barcades with a few of my best friends. The place offered a plethora of games and an extensive drink menu. So what was our first quest? Well, beating Shredder in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade game, followed by ordering a huge beer tower to celebrate our virtual victory. The night continued with competitive spirits and trying to get a brutality in Mortal Kombat and chasing some high scores in Donkey Kong. A night of gaming, laughter, and drinks surrounded by kindred spirits. It was basically a LAN party with some extra calories, right? So as we wrap up this journey through the Pokemon Go effect on Barcades, remember that success isn't just catching rare Pokemon or reaching that high score. True success lies in sharing those victories with friends, whether in the virtual realm or over a round of drinks at your local barcade. So as you venture out to catch them all or break new high scores, savor those moments, forge new connections, and keep the gaming spirit alive. Cheers. I just wanna